Frangie Show on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
All right, welcome in. Thank you so much for joining us. Frank Frangie on vacation this week, but we've got Hacker in with us. I am Hays Carlyon, JJ La Silva here as well. Hack, how you doing, man? Everything good?
Hays, I'm good, man. Yeah, doing well. The young man, my son's got his second ice skating lesson tonight.
Awesome.
So it's always interesting when a 5-year-old puts on a pair of ice skates. Last week, he kind of figured it out a little bit, so I'm looking forward to seeing what tonight brings.
Yeah, and you've got a big interview on Hacker After Dark. You caught up with Will You Get today.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Will You Get, former Florida Gator basketball player, was on the 2014 NCAA Final Four team. He's actually playing pro ball over in Europe. Actually caught up with Will after practice. He's 6 hours ahead of us over there in Europe. So, yeah, we're going to play that conversation tonight on Hacker After Dark. Looking forward to it.
That is awesome. I can't wait to hear it. And it's what an incredible time for Florida. We're going to break it all down today just to set the scene for you. We're going to have our Scholar Athlete of the Week. That'll be in our next segment. Then Chris Harry's going to join us at 5 o'clock from FloridaGators.com. Does an outstanding job. Obviously, you guys have heard Chris on this show many times before. So we're going to get his thoughts. I think they're flying to San Antonio tomorrow. But Chris will be able to give us his thoughts on the massive events in San Francisco, the great win over Texas Tech, and curious to get Chris's thoughts just on what this run says about the program, what it's done for Walter Clayton Jr.'s legacy, and obviously we'll break down his thoughts on Auburn. He has seen these two teams play up close and personal. He travels with the team to every game, so he was there in February when Florida beat Auburn on the Plains, so that'll be a lot of fun. And then Ryan O'Halloran will join us at 5:20. We'll switch to some NFL talk then. Ryan is the columnist for the Buffalo News. He was down in Palm Beach, is still down there covering the owners' meetings. They wrapped up today. They had the NFC head coaches meeting today. AFC head coaches obviously were yesterday. We played a lot of Liam Cohen. But Ryan's going to join us to talk about a lot of the changes that are coming and some that got tabled. The tush push got tabled today. Doesn't mean it's dead. It just means they don't have the votes usually, but that means they're hopeful to get the votes. They need 24. The reports were 16 teams were in favor of banning it. So it's I'd say fairly close. It'll be interesting to see if in a month when the owners meet again, when they pick it back up, if something changes. But you also had the overtime rules getting adjusted. So both teams are possessing the ball now, but it's only a 10-minute period. The touchback now is going to go to the 35. So a lot of interesting stuff. Did you have a feel on any of those things? Any of those sit well with you or disagree with you?
Well, the overtime rule is long overdue. The fact that both teams will finally get the ball now, I guess, unless a team takes the entire 10 minutes to score, which theoretically, I guess, could happen, right?
Could, but it would be, you would think, rare.
Yeah, you would think rare. 10-minute drives are usually pretty rare. So I'm happy that both teams are going to get an opportunity to touch the ball, regardless if a touchdown is scored by the opening drive or not. And then the touchback, I mean, look, now it's going to be moved out to the 35. I will tell you this. They are determined to have the kickoff return back in this game. I was actually pretty surprised, Hays, that when the touchback got moved to the 30, that so many teams were willing to do that, kick the ball out of the back of the end zone. Now the 35, I mean, you're talking about if you give the ball at the 35-yard line with as good as kickers are today,
yeah,
you gain
15
20 yards. Yeah, you're in field goal range.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to see a lot more teams now saying, all right, we're going to have to make these guys return the ball because we cannot give them the ball at the 35-yard line.
How do you think the Jaguars are positioned for that rule? They've got Keelan Robinson, but and obviously Jamal Agnew is signed with Atlanta last week, who Jamal Agnew, the last great returner here just from a few years ago, and Duvernay is gone. So are you comfortable with what they have, or do you think that's something that they'll now prioritize?
I think they might prioritize it, but keep in mind, I mean, Keelan Robinson, maybe Parker Washington is in the mix there. Tank Bigsby has been in the mix, at least in the past. Again, with a new regime, who really knows what they're thinking, although Heath Farwell was retained, so you got the special teams coordinator back. But I think they're positioned pretty good. Keelan Robinson was the guy last year. It was disappointing. We never really got to see him. I think you saw him like in the last month, but at that point, a lot of people had checked out, and we're talking draft at that point. So a healthy Keelan Robinson will be interesting to see. But I think they're positioned okay, but it would not surprise me if they draft a guy or two that would specialize in that role.
Yeah, I would agree. And again, with 10 picks, you got to think late in the draft, 7th round, maybe you're looking for a specific return specialist, kind of like, the thinking with Keelan Robinson last year. So we've got a great show coming up again. Scholar Athlete next segment. Chris Harry talking Gators basketball at 5. Ryan O'Halloran talking NFL rule changes from the owners' meetings at 5:20. But Hacker, what I wanted to start with today is kind of going through the Jaguars. We're going to start this conversation, and then we'll circle back to it as the show progresses in this first hour. But we talked about the Jaguars draft yesterday, and I was going back over Liam Cohen's session with the media yesterday, and he said something that I thought was interesting when he was asked about James Gladstone. And his quote was, he talked about how James breaks things down to such an elite level of simplicity for me because he's a lot smarter than I am. And so he's able to break down the draft, understand it as well as anybody that I've heard, around these conversations. This is where it got interesting. We've got guys in buckets to where we're trying to look for them, and he's been able to map things out for me to be able to understand that at a high level. Where I'm going to extrapolate that to, and this is where I'm curious if this is where their draft strategy is maybe headed towards, is Gladstone is obviously, like Liam said, he's a very smart guy. You don't become an NFL general manager at 34 years old unless you're incredibly brilliant. When you look at the talent in this draft, it is they're all sort of like this, but I think this one even more so. There's a glut at certain positions, and there's a real scarcity at some positions. And when you start to line up what the Jaguars need to get out of this draft with the 5th pick in the draft, 36 overall, the high second rounder, 2 in the 3rd, number 70, number 88, and 2 in the 4th, 107 and 126, those should be 6 big needs that they fill. They have more needs than that. But my question for you is, with the depth, as good as the analysts believe it is, and the GMs at the Combine who sort of were willing to talk about the strengths of the draft, defensive line, both inside and on the edge, is strong. Mm-hmm. Running back is strong. Tight end is strong. What isn't so strong, offensive line and particularly offensive tackle, and receiver isn't as strong as it's been. Now it's been stratospherically awesome for about the last 5 years, but this receiving core isn't considered to be as strong as previous years. So do you see a scenario, particularly if they do end up in a scenario where Hunter, Carter, and Graham are all off the board before they get to 5, could you see a scenario where James Gladstone is going to use that and maybe go offensive line, receiver early, and then utilize that depth, defensive line, running back, tight end in the mid to later rounds?
What I think would be interesting is, in your scenario, Carter, Hunter, and Graham are all gone. But how about this scenario? Let's say Graham is there at 5 with Will Campbell. All right, and like you just said, offensive tackle is not the deepest position. Defensive tackle is considerably deeper. Would you tinker with the idea that, all right, yeah, it would suck to not get Mason Graham, but defensive tackles 2, 3, and 4, we have much higher on our board than offensive tackles 2, 3, and 4. Let's take the best offensive tackle in the draft and Will Campbell. We get the 3rd best defensive tackle at 36. Would that be a better option than taking Mason Graham and taking an offensive tackle at 36, which is considerably lower than the defensive class?
And I think it's something that could absolutely be in play. I mean, the thing with Will Campbell or Membu out of Missouri, you may feel like it's a reach to take them at 5. But assuming you can't trade back, they're not going to be there in the 2nd round. That's how guys get overdrafted.
They're probably not getting out of the top 10.
Probably, but there's certainly, this is your one chance to get them.
Right.
And so I think when you look at it, considering what the Jaguars need to fill, like in going through it, they need an offensive lineman, they need a receiver, they need an edge, they need a defensive tackle, they need a corner, they need a safety, they need a running back, and they need a tight end. Well, that's 8 things. Now, they do have 10 picks, but in terms of those first 4 rounds where you might have a chance to get somebody who can immediately help you, you've got 6 selections. So would it make sense to not take a running back or a tight end in the first 4 rounds of this draft and then bank on the fact that, again, according to what it seems like the consensus is in terms of the experts and the actual evaluators that are running the draft rooms at all these outposts, could you get a receiver and a tight end in rounds 5, 6, or 7 that might be able to be better than what you would normally find at that stage of the draft?
You know, everybody here in Jacksonville, everybody on 1010XL, listeners, Jaguar fans, we're all united in this. Last year, the coaching staff was terrible, right? Doug Peterson, Press Taylor, Ryan Nielsen. It was a failure across the board at every position. And the reason I bring that up is that's been what we've said. We've heard people tell us that was the common opinion in this city. Well, all right, if that's the case, you look in the interior defensive line as an example. Mason Smith, Jordan Jefferson, Devon Hamilton, Eric Armstead, Tyler Lacey, I guess. Those would be the 5, at least right now. If Ryan Nielsen was as bad as we made him out to be, maybe the players weren't as bad. Maybe Anthony Campanile can get more out of that interior defensive line than Ryan Nielsen could get out of them, or maybe that Mike Caldwell even got out of them. And if that's what you're going on, we've been so inclined to say Mason Graham, Mason Graham, Mason Graham. Well, Ozone was on with us yesterday, John Ozier at Jaguars.com, and he didn't necessarily say Mason Graham wasn't going to happen. But when he was asked, he said, I'm not so sure they're going to do that. And he mentioned the young defensive lineman. If everything was Ryan Nielsen's fault, maybe Anthony Campanile can correct some of those wrongs. Is there a need at 5 or even 36 on the interior defensive line, or will a new coaching staff bring more out of those players?
Yeah, and they could look at that. If they like Mason Smith, obviously now Armstead inside, so you could be looking at that as, is that a major 2025 need, or is that more of probably a 2026 need? Because if you believe in Mason Smith, that he's an ascending player, even though they didn't draft him, but if they like what they've seen on tape and from what they've heard in the building about him, obviously they like Armstead. Liam Cohen's talked about what he was like to go up against when Cohen was with the Rams and Armstead was a 49er. And now he's going to be playing the spot he should have been playing at in the interior. They like Jefferson, as Ozone pointed out, more of a nose, but and who knows about Devon Hamilton, but he is still a Jaguar as of now, and it seems like he's going to be on the team. So it's interesting as you work through it, because that's, and you brought up the best point. Assume Mason Graham actually is there. Does it make sense for them to pass on defensive tackle? And I think, again, in seeing kind of how Liam Cohen phrased it and the buckets and certain, I think playing to the strength of the draft is something that the best GMs are able to do. And it does seem like James Gladstone is at least got that kind of mind where, look, we need to kind of attack aggressively the spots that are scarce in this draft and the spots that we believe, and we don't know their evaluation. They may think that there's only 6 good running backs in this draft, but that doesn't normally happen. Normally, the group thing does extend to the majority of these war rooms. I mean, if you're sitting there thinking, yeah, we need a running back, yeah, we need a tight end, but there's a guy in the 5th round that in most years might go 3rd round, and there's an offensive tackle that, is that maybe we wouldn't normally love at 5, but if we don't address it, we really don't like what's there beyond it. It's something to think about as we get. It's just another part of the picture. It's needs, it's value, but it's also playing the game, which this franchise hasn't done a great job with. So I am curious to see if that is something that, as the draft plays out, they take advantage of.
We got somebody on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures, the 472. Stop this nonsense. Take the best available player. All right. Normally, I would agree with you. But for argument's sake, who is the most important player on the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence. The Jaguars will win or lose with what Trevor Lawrence does. I think we can all agree with that. Trevor Lawrence, if he's given time to find guys down the field, has proven that he can be successful. Once he gets hit and rattled and beat up and injured, we all know what happens. It's happened the last couple of years. So if you think that Mason Graham is the best available player, or if you think that, heck, Ashton Genty, Tyler Warren, Jalen Walker, any of these guys are the best available player, but yet Will Campbell, the best offensive lineman, or Armand Mimbu, the best offensive lineman, is sitting there at 5, I am inclined to, at this point, do something the Jaguars have not done. Just draft guys to protect Trevor Lawrence. This staff came in and brought in 4 pro free agents. That's what they thought of what Trent Baalke did on the offensive line. Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 free agents. And who's to say that they're not going to draft an offensive lineman or 2? And again, if there is a drop-off after Will Campbell and Mimbu to the next offensive tackles, where, yes, there would be a drop-off after Mason Graham, but it's not as steep on the defensive line, to me, I would be more inclined to take the offensive lineman at 5 and see what falls to you at 36.
Yeah, it's a great thought, and it's something that as we get closer to this thing, I think I think we're going to have to put a little bit more weight on. But we'll see. Obviously, we've got a few more weeks until it plays out, but we do have a scholar athlete coming up. You are listening to The Frangie Show on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
The Frangie Show from the Harrell and Harrell studio. Don't settle for less than you deserve.
Frank Frangie here. These days, it's hard to know which companies to trust. But when it comes to banking, I trust South State Bank. South State truly values its customers, and they work hard to create meaningful, lasting relationships. I love going into my local branch. I see the same smiling faces I've seen for years. South State is the largest bank headquartered in Florida, so they're able to offer all the banking services you need. You can trust South State Bank. Banking forward. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
4 balls, 3 strikes, 2 teams, 1 winner. 1010XL.
Tired of supermarket produce that's traveled thousands of miles before you get it? Treat your family to farm fresh, Florida-grown fruits and veggies delivered right to your home with Doorbell Farms. No supply chain issues or questionable origins, just seasonal produce handpicked from local farmers. Subscribe monthly and enjoy the best local farm produce delivered right to you. Sign up now at doorbellfarms.com. Connecting real people to real family farms. Doorbellfarms.com.
Hello, First Coast. I'm sure by now you have seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We're an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We're committed to customer service, reliability, and have an unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today from GFL, Green for Life.
Poker players, the Run Good Poker Series is coming to Best Bet Jacksonville from April 24th to May 4th with 10 poker events, including the $1,200 main event, hosting a $300,000 guaranteed prize pool, and event number 1, a $400 no-limit hold'em tourney with a $200,000 guarantee. The action is non-stop. One in, win your seat through satellite starting April 4th at Best Bet Jacksonville. For all the Run Good Series structures and details, visit bestbetjacks.com. That's bestbetjacks.com.
Beat the spring cleaning rush with big savings and priority booking by calling our heroes at Zero Res. This month, get Zero Resified from Jacksonville's #1 carpet cleaner. You'll get 25% off all cleaning services. That's right, 25% off. Check out 8,000 raving customer reviews if you don't believe me online. Call them, 904-287-5727, or visit their website, ZeroResJacksonville.com. Zero Res, spell it forwards or backwards. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res.
We're giving away free AC inspections to our wonderful customers who now call and schedule. But you must act today. A deal this good won't last forever. Call 904-862-6769. DuckDuckAC.com. Any required repairs are not included in the inspection.
Draft season is here, and so is Mia's Mock Draft Mondays. And this year, we're powered by One Night Taco Stand. Each week, I'll unveil a new set of possible targets for the big cats on the 1010XL social channels and 1010XL.com. Let's talk about it on 1010XL.
Listen up, fellow Gen Xers. Elizabeth Banks here. The recommended age for pneumococcal pneumonia vaccination has been lowered to 50 and older, even if you're healthy. It's up to us to lead the way. We've done this before. Music videos, fanny packs, even the World Wide Web. Let's do it again and get vaccinated. because we're at over 6 times greater risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Gen X, this is our shot. Visit VaxAssist.com and schedule a vaccine today. Sponsored by Pfizer.
E.T. here, and Twin Peaks is the best in the game. Here your favorite drafts are poured at a frosty 29 degrees, and rare barrel-aged whiskeys are served just the way you want them. It's bigger game days than bolder fight nights. I mean, where else can you find Scratch Kitchen that always comes in the clutch every day from lunch to late night? Only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar. Hit a home run for happy hour and ask your Twin Peaks girl about local specials on drafts, cocktail shots, and more. Come on, somebody.
Attention Florida homeowners, for 1 month only. Save big with Renewal by Anderson. Get $300 off every window and $825 off all patio doors. Plus, call now and ask about our brand new Ensemble entry door system. But hurry, this limited time offer won't last. Visit bestwindowsflorida.com today to schedule your free design consultation. That's bestwindowsflorida.com. Renewal by Anderson, your trusted window and door experts. Superior products, exceptional service. License number CGC 1527613.
I'm here with Clayton Bromberg of Underwoods. Clayton, I've got a simple question. How much does a 1-carat diamond cost?
Frank, that's an impossible question to answer because a carat is only a measure of weight for gemstones. It'd be no different than me saying, I have a beautiful wife. She weighs 125 pounds, which you'd find is a ridiculous description. Diamonds are graded for 4 factors, and carat weight is only one of those factors. The others are cut, color, and clarity, and each of these factors is graded specifically and set by a certified gemologist in an accredited gem laboratory. So when you ask about a diamond's weight, we're going to tell you more than just the price. At Underwoods, we want a customer to understand how all 4 factors of diamond quality relate back to the rarity and value of the diamond. Needless to say, we all understand the value of a dollar. At Underwoods, we want our customers to know what their dollar buys in diamond value. So if you're shopping for the best, stop by Underwoods.
That's at Underwoods in San Marco, in Avondale, or at the shops of Ponte Vedra.
When it comes to towing products, your safety is the priority at Cannons of Jacksonville. Cannons has decades of experience to ensure your towing setup is installed with precision and reliability. Visit cannonsofjacks.com, your trusted partner for a smoother tow.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Hey, let's go!
And now, this week's Scholar Athlete of the Week. Brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists and the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Local Union 234 on 1010XL.
All right, we are certainly pleased to welcome in our Scholar Athlete of the Week, Reese Tucker from Wolfson. Reese, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Sure thing. It's great to see you. I'm just going to get out of the way because Hacker has been reminiscing about his Wolfson
She brought
days
in the
with you.
Wolfson gear. I'm like, I'm getting fired up. I'm thinking back 23 years ago to Powers Avenue. How is the old stomping grounds at Wolfson High School?
It's good. It's definitely gotten a lot better than what it was a couple years ago, and we have a good community there, and the teachers are great.
Now, you're a multi-sport player.
Yes.
What all do you play?
I play soccer during the winter, and then I'm actually my first year of lacrosse this year, and I did track and field last year.
Well, lacrosse is really picking up a lot of steam.
Yes.
Absolutely. But soccer is your love. Tell us what position you play and all that fun stuff.
So I've been playing since I was 4 years old. I kind of mix between striker, center back, kind of everywhere. Any position that they need, really.
Do you have a favorite game, a team moment you can share with us?
Yes. Freshman year, I was on the varsity team, and we drove 6.5 hours on a yellow school bus to Panama City, and we actually ended up winning in penalty kicks. So
wow.
That was super
Awesome.
exciting.
That was all. Did you make one of the PKs?
No.
Okay. But,
Yeah,
the moment was
yeah, the
incredible.
moment. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, Reese, I see you have a very disappointing 3.96 GPA at Wolfson, which last time I checked is a pretty hard school. I mean, what goes into playing multiple sports? I mean, a 3.96, that's incredible. You have over 275 community service hours on top of that. We're going to talk about the swim team because I know they're listening right now. I want to give them a shout out. But dare I say, your resume as a high school athlete and student is unbelievably impressive.
Yeah. It takes a lot. It's definitely a hard balance, but I just make sure to keep up with my schoolwork because school comes first, and then the student athlete is always second. But I just try to make sure to do my homework on the bus, maybe in class if I have extra time, just so I'm able to balance that out.
Reese, tell us about volunteering as a swim coach and how rewarding that's been for you.
So it's actually my alma mater, Landon Middle School. I have coached them since freshman year. It's definitely like my favorite part of the school year. They're amazing. They all love me, and it's super fun.
How rewarding is that?
It's great. Last year they went to cities, and I think they placed second overall, which is pretty good. So that was super exciting. And this year we're going to do even better.
Fantastic. Do you know where you're going to school yet?
Yes, I'm going to Florida State University.
Oh, congrats.
Yes, and I'm majoring in sports management on a pre-law track.
How about that?
Yeah.
So what do we want to be in 10 years?
I hope to be a sports agent for an NFL team.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I love it.
Yeah.
Make sure if you have a player that plays for the Jaguars, make sure we get a hometown discount here. But yeah, that's super exciting. What got you fired up about that?
Honestly, my mom actually majored in sports management, so that kind of put me in the right path, and I knew that I wanted to do something in sports because I've loved sports my entire life. I've been listening to 92.5 since I was a kid.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I kind of just knew, and then I knew that law school, it's definitely a lot of school, but it would be fun, so.
Well, I see your school clubs here, and one thing that stuck out to me was the Interact Service Club. I don't think we were the first one in 2002, my senior year. No, I really mean this. We didn't have it. I assume they had it before then, but they brought it back. And my senior year, we were 02 Sweet, by the way, Reese. Those were our senior buttons, 02 Sweet at Wolfson High School. We were in the Interact Club in 02. Now here we are 23 years later. Talk about that and talk about some of the other groups you're involved with.
Yeah, so Interact is a big part of my school. I've been in it since freshman year. We do a lot of volunteer activities. We make cards for nurseries and a bunch of different places and wrap presents around Christmas time. And then I'm also part of Student Ambassadors, which is actually really rewarding too because I get to tour around people that I have known in my past few years of being involved in the community. So that's super exciting. And then I'm also part of student government. Nice. I was 11th grade senator. So that was, I liked being able to help my grade.
That's cool. I like that.
Absolutely.
I like that a lot.
Absolutely. Well, Reese, congratulations on all your success, and certainly best of luck to you at Florida State.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming in and spending some time with us.
Thank you for having me.
Sure thing. Reese Tucker from Wolfson High School, outstanding. Boy, you should see the pep and hacker step.
The Wolf Den, man. Are you kidding me? Those were the glory days back on Powers Avenue. Loved my time at Wolfson.
Well, that was... What an outstanding student.
Unbelievably impressive. 3.96. I think you divide that by about 2 maybe, and that's close to what I had at a certain point.
I was not in that territory, I can assure you, but we certainly appreciate it, and we love our scholar athletes. That's one of our favorite segments of the week. Now, I want to ask you something. We'll get it back to Jaguars, but I wanted to get a quick thought from you on Florida football. So they got a commit yesterday, but it was for 2025. It was the class that you thought was pretty much signed, sealed, and delivered. A corner, Javari Flowers out of Miami Northwestern, pretty heralded player, like top 100 player in the country.
And Miami fans were all up in arms about that yesterday, which anytime you can go down to Miami and get a player from Northwestern, that's obviously a good thing for Billy Napier and the Gators.
Absolutely. So where do you kind of sit with the Florida football program? And, do you see them ascending? Are you concerned going into the fall? How do you assess the program?
No, I think there's far more optimism, or there should be far more optimism now after you end the season the way you did with, 4 consecutive victories. You cost Ole Miss and LSU a chance at the playoff. You beat Florida State, and you win the bowl game, so there is momentum. I mean, the problem, Hays, is the same exact problem you had last year. The schedule's brutal. It's basically the same schedule, except you flip the home and road games. You got to go to Baton Rouge. You got to go to Oxford. You got to go to College Station. You get Texas here. You get Tennessee here. But it's just a brutal schedule. And I know that Billy Napier got a 4th year, and that's great. But you know how Gator fans are. Gator fans listening know how Gator fans are. If they're 2-4 or 3-3 or 4-5, he's going to be on the hot seat, if not fired, at the end of the year again. So it was a reprieve, but I certainly think there's still a ton of pressure on Billy Napier coming into the 2025 season.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I think he's got to go 8-4 probably to have any chance.
And 8-4 with that schedule is not going to be easy.
Yeah, but I will say this. I've never felt better about the roster under his watch, and probably really going back maybe even to the Meyer era, because Muschamp had some talented teams, but it was imbalanced. It was more defensive, fantastic, offense, not so much. And then it was almost the flip of that with, McElwain was a 0. And then Mullen, it was imbalanced, but the flip-flop where the offense would be great, defense not so much. But so I do like the roster that he's constructed, what he's done in terms of rebuilding the offensive line, where now they've got 4 of their 5 starters coming back. The running backs look great.
Getting Jake Slaughter and Austin Barber, Tyreek Sapp, and Caleb Banks to not go in the NFL draft was enormous.
Monumental.
Enormous. Those 4 guys would have been drafted 3rd to 5th round, probably. I would think all those guys are mid-round draft picks, and you get all 4 of them back.
Right, without a doubt. And, again, you have to hope, if you're a Gators fan, that DJ Lagway really is this unbelievable weapon for you. Are you nervous at all that he hasn't done much in spring?
No. I mean, you had the hamstring. I know there's some talk about the shoulder. Nervous, no. Talk to me in a couple of months, right? Talk to me in July and August. I'll be very nervous if we're having this conversation in mid to late August, obviously. But here we are, April 1st. No April Fools here. But no, I'm not nervous at all about DJ Lagway yet. But again, talk to me on down the road.
Yeah, I'm not either. I am excited to see what he can be. I love what what the buzz is in spring about the receivers. Obviously, they lost DK and Badger, but bringing in Sturdivant from UCLA, they apparently love the 2 freshmen, actually 3 freshmen, but the 2, Wilson and
Dallas Wilson
and Brown are very heralded. But that Nishan Montgomery has really drawn a lot of raves as well.
You know what? I had an interesting comparison with him with Montgomery. Everybody's talking about Dallas Wilson and Vernell Brown, and with good reason. But it's almost as if that's back in the day when people were talking about Andy Jean and Aiden Mizell, and nobody was really talking about the third one, which was Eugene Wilson. And Eugene Wilson turned out to be the best one. By the way, he's back as well. Hopefully the injury doesn't fluster him and he can come back and have a good, healthy 2025. But Montgomery, to me, potentially could be the Eugene Wilson of the group. You just hope that Dallas Wilson and Vernell Brown turn out to have better careers than what Andy Jean and Aiden Mizell have had to this point.
Yeah, great stuff. It's going to be boy, what a season for Florida Gators coming up. And after this basketball run, if Billy Napier has figured it out and they go win 11 games, 2025, pretty spectacular calendar year for University of Florida.
Has the basketball team done Billy Napier a favor? Because, spring football right now without basketball will be on the forefront of everybody's mind. We'll be talking about the hot seat and having to win. Spring football has been a complete and total afterthought in Gainesville, and it's almost wrapped up. What does it have, 2 weeks to go, roughly?
I think a week from Saturday is the spring game.
Yeah, so less than 2 weeks. The basketball team has kind of put spring football on the back burner. Maybe that's a good thing. I'm sure they got a lot of solid work in during spring practice.
I think it's a good thing, too, because if you look historically at when the basketball team has made big-time runs, it usually translates to the football team being good the next year. Now, that could be a complete fluke, and they're not directly related. But I will say, being on that campus as a student right after I got there in summer of '94. So the basketball team had just gone to the Final Four.
Demeet Hook,
and
Andrew DeClerc,
and Cross and Brown,
and Marty Kuzma.
That's right.
Yeah.
Find a way.
That's right.
What a team, and you could feel that carry over. Now, obviously, Spurrier was rolling, so they would have been good regardless of what Lon Kruger's basketball team did. But what's interesting is you saw it in 2000. Florida gets to the national title game in basketball, loses to Michigan State. The football team's outstanding the next year. You saw it in 06 and 07 when Billy won both titles. Urban Meyer rolling, winning. And even in 14, I think there was that. I think ended up being no, that may not have. I think Florida went to the Sugar Bowl in 12 with Muschamp. But I'm curious to see if just seeing the basketball team have the success it's had, get the spotlight that it's had in a friendly way. I wonder if that's even more of a motivating factor for the football team.
Well, and look, we talked last year that opening game against Miami was a big game for both Cristobal and Napier, and it was. This year, it's amplified for Billy. You can't lose to Cristobal twice.
Right.
If you lose to him again, with Miami, look, I get Carson Beck. I mean, Miami just lost the number 1 pick in the draft, a quarterback, in Cam Ward. Cam Ward was the main reason you lost last year. We'll see. Carson Beck's a good football player, but if I'm the Gators, there's a lot of stock that's going to be taken out of that game in Coral Gables or in South Florida there, and was that the 3rd Saturday of the year?
It's a great point. It's not a league game, and it's not FSU, but you can make an argument that that's the one that he really needs to win after how embarrassing it was in the season opener in the Swamp last year, and Cam Ward now in the NFL draft. And we'll see what Carson Beck can do. He may be outstanding for Miami, but I would agree with you. I think that one's higher. If you did a 1 through 12 of games Billy Napier needs to win, I think at Miami, not that it's an easy putt at all, but I think you can make a good argument that it would be high up on a lot of fans' lists. So good stuff. We're going to get it back to the Jaguars when we come up. We're gonna look at the AFC South. I want to get Hacker's thoughts on what he has seen out of the Colts, the Texans, and the Titans so far this offseason. You were listening to The Frangie Show on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
It's the ride home with The Frangie Show from the Harold and Harold studio. Don't settle for less than you deserve.
Things you never hear Dan and Jeff say.
Look, I just want to say I'm sorry for the way I acted.
Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser are The Drill.
I was a maniac.
Yeah, but I see you changed your ways.
Mornings on 1010XL.
Thank you. It means a lot.
Frank Frangie here. Nimnick Chevrolet is proud to be an 8-time Chevrolet Dealer of the Year recipient, the only dealership in Northeast Florida to ever win this prestigious award. Earned by treating customers with courtesy, respect, and fairness, all part of Nimnick's Treating You Right guarantee. Visit nimnickchevy.com to learn more. For 3 generations, Nimnick has been the place customers keep coming back to. I've been buying my vehicles from Nimnick since 1982 because they care about their customers and are invested in our local community, including supporting walk-off charities. And all we're trying to do to help underprivileged kids learn to play baseball. Treating you right, giving back to the community, more choices and better prices for you. So who has put the most years in stands behind a better experience? The answer is simple. Nobody but Nimnick. Visit their showroom off Cassett Avenue or shop 24/7 at nimnickchevy.com. Head to Nimnick today. Chevrolet, together let's drive.
This is Hays Carlyon for Harold and Harold. I was at lunch with my good friend Holt, and he was telling me that sometimes a lawyer can get more from a case than their own client. I was surprised to hear this, but Holt said that doesn't happen with Harold and Harold. They'll never take a fee that is greater than their own client. When they say they treat their clients as a person and not a file, they mean it. Hopefully you won't need them, but if you're ever injured, call Harold and Harold at 904-251-1111. That's 904-251-1111.
So, you finally have some time to yourself. Even if it is just the car ride home, it's you time. And look at you. Do not disturb set before you even got in the car? Impressive. You've earned this moment to just chill and drive. This break is brought to you by Target Zero and the Florida Department of Transportation.
I'm here with Danny Van Sickle, Director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick, we're a 4-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $40,000 a year and right now make over $90,000 a year, including benefits. There is no tuition or student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted to the program, your only cost for the books and the course fees, about $800 a year.
That sounds like an amazing opportunity. How can I learn more?
Just go to etajax.org and you can apply there.
Apply by May 15th.
Mia here, and let me tell you about one of our area's best resorts, the Sawgrass Marriott Golf Resort and Spa. The Sawgrass Marriott is not only a great destination for a vacation, but it is also a great destination for dining on the Florida's first coast. 1912 Ocean Bar and Rooftop is now open on Ponte Vedra Boulevard, featuring Ponte Vedra's only oceanfront rooftop bar and lounge. Serving finely crafted cocktails and delectable eats, it's open daily from 4 to 10 with complimentary valet parking.
It's the Gator Podcast Channel with Frank Frangie and me, Dan Hicken, on all things Gators. Hacker and Denny Thompson have Gator Bites, and you can find them wherever you find podcasts or at 1010XL.com. Presented by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Hey, it's Matt Hays. If you're like me, as soon as you click yes to a subscription, you feel stuck. Starting Awaken 180 was the complete opposite because it's not a subscription, No fine print. Pay as you go, lose weight as you go. Awaken180weightloss.com.
ET here, and it's time for the Taste of Golf at TPC Sawgrass April 23rd. Join me for fine cuisine from chefs from the top golf clubs in our area. Craft cocktails, games, and unique auction items will be present. This is one of the most impactful charitable events in our area. Come network with a sophisticated audience who's passionate about golf and its values, while impacting the youth in our community. All proceeds benefit First Tee, North Florida. For tickets, go to tasteofgolf.com. Come on, somebody.
This is head coach Matthew Driscoll from the UNF men's basketball team. When our players suffer an orthopedic injury, Southeast Orthopedic Specialists gets our players back on the court pain-free.
We appreciate the endorsements from our high school and college coaches. This is Dr. Kevin Murphy. Next time you need orthopedic care, you can rely on our team at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Jumbo Shrimp Baseball opens today at the newly renovated VyStar Ballpark. Come early for opening day street carnival and don't miss post-game fireworks. Don't miss Thirsty Thursday and fireworks Friday and Saturday. Baseball all week and weekend. Tickets start at just $5. JackShrimp.com for tickets. Jumbo Shrimp Baseball, affordable family fun.
Spring is in the air. Time to wake up your lawn with Heroes Lawn Care. Say goodbye to pesky mosquitoes with their organic and spray treatments. Perfect for outdoor fun. Keep your lawn clean and fresh with their pet waste removal for homes and businesses. Heroes Lawn Care takes care of it all. From mowing, edging, fertilizer, to irrigation, and much more. Visit heroeslawncare.com.
Have you got concrete or asphalt rubble piling up? Arcosa Crushed Concrete will pay you for it and recycle it. They're just minutes from Everbank Stadium on Talleyrand. Call Arcosa Crushed Concrete and get paid for what you don't need. ArcosaCrushedConcrete.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
It's a Nimnick Tuesday on The Frangie Show. Nimnick, your friends in the car business since 1941.
Welcome back to The Frangie Show. Hacker is here. JJ LaSelva is here. I'm Hays Carlyon. Frank Frangie on vacation. He will be back next week, depending on how Florida does Saturday against Auburn. If they lose, Frank is scheduled to be here Monday. If they win, he will still be in San Antonio for that national title game and would be back for Tuesday's show. So, that will be very interesting to see, but we're going to continue our talk with the Jaguars. And Hacker, we were sort of going through this to start the show off of, you know, in terms of attacking the draft. But the other thing that stands out to me is they definitely have 4 premium picks, the first rounder, the second rounder, 2 and the third. And you can make an argument that they've got 6 if you're going to include the 2 and the 4th. Those are kind of fringe guys. Sometimes a 4th rounder can come in and help. The probability is probably not, but for the sake of the argument, let's include those. So they have 6 picks in which, again, assuming they don't trade up or back, that they can work with. And they've got more needs than that. So something's going to have to give. If you take an offensive lineman, a receiver, an edge, a defensive tackle, a corner, and a safety, that's 6. But you haven't addressed running back or tight end, which gets you to 8. And you may even have other positions that I haven't included. Mm-hmm. But when you look at that, how do you prioritize how you think they should attack this draft coming up?
I want big guys. The first couple of picks, let's say the first 4, right? The first, second, and 2 in the third. Of those 4, I want an absolute minimum of 2 300-pounders, whether it's 2 O linemen, 2 D linemen, 1 of each. I think you got to build the line of scrimmage. I agree with you with corner and safety. My question about safety, though, all right, Daniel Thomas kind of counts. He's a great special teams player, but he's never going to be a starting safety unless there's a lot of injuries. So I don't even know if you would count him as a safety per se. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Dewey Wingard, obviously, is one you would expect to be on the roster. Darnell Savage, are you counting him?
He has to be on the team. He's sort of like the defensive Gabe Davis.
Right.
I mean, he gave him maybe a little bit more than Gabe Davis, but I mean, I think he's got to be on the team.
So that's 2.
They can't cut him.
Eric Murray, right? It's 3. And then what do you do with Antonio Johnson?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think there's a need at safety, but if they draft a safety high, that's probably really bad news for Antonio Johnson.
Without a doubt. Yeah, I've seen like Xavier Watts, being mocked to the Jaguars in like the second round. That would kind of surprise me unless they just absolutely love him as a player. Because I think safety is a need. But again, that's a position that you can usually kind of cheat a little bit and wait and still get a pretty good guy, later on. So, again, it's going to be, it's a puzzle, and putting it together is not going to be the easiest thing for the Jaguars as you go through it. My guess is you go some variation of offensive line, receiver, edge, D tackle, corner, safety in the first 4 rounds, and then you hope at running back and tight end. And who knows? They may look at tight end and say, well, we like the 2 free agents we brought in. They keep talking Brenton Strange up. But it seems like in a year where, and again, this plays into, I think, the strategy involved. If it's a great year for tight ends, I don't know that you want to ignore it. Why wouldn't you take advantage of that, even if it's not necessarily a need? And you can make a case it is a need. The 2 guys they signed in free agency are just sort of journeymen, and we don't really know what Brenton Strange is yet as he goes into year 3.
If Mason Graham is there at 5, and let's say the New Orleans Saints, as an example, at 9, call you up when you're on the clock, and they want to trade up because they want to take Shedeur Sanders or whoever, New Orleans or somebody in 9, 10, 11 range. And if you trade back, you would probably sacrifice Mason Graham, but you're getting the 9th pick, let's say a 3rd and a 5th.
Yeah.
So now you all of a sudden have 12 picks in the draft.
Right.
But it's going to cost you Mason Graham. Would you do it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I probably would too.
Yeah, I hope the Saints call because I think falling to 9 and picking up, I would assume New Orleans is second rounder, which is 40th overall. Now you're able to really start building something where you've got a really nice prospect now at a myriad of different spots to help solve their problems. In terms of the division, so Houston won it last year at 10-7. Boy, I feel like they've taken a step back.
I think they've had an atrocious offseason.
Yeah.
Terrible. They've basically decided they're not going to block for C.J. Stroud.
Right.
Because they brought in Tomlinson and Ingram at guard. They got rid. Now, their offensive line last year wasn't any good either. So I understand why they needed to bring in new players. But if the idea was to bring in better players, I think they've missed the mark there. Because, again, I don't know a lot about the analytics, but I've had people on that tell me about the analytics. And apparently Ed Ingram, who I actually like, I interviewed Ed Ingram when I was covering recruiting for Gridiron Now before he went to LSU. So I'm a little partial to the guys that I got to talk to during the recruiting process. But the analytics people tell me that Ed Ingram was awful last year. And that Tomlinson, the other guy they added at guard, was awful last year. And here's what you need to know about the Texans. They got rid of Laramie Tunsil, and their replacement is Cam Robinson. That is what they decided. They decided to do that voluntarily, mind you. Trade Laramie Tunsil and replace him with Cam Robinson. If I'm C.J. Stroud, I am fuming at what my front office has done to me.
Yeah, I agree. And look, Joe Mixon was a nice player for them last year, but he's older. He's 29, and certainly has got a lot of miles. Cincinnati, obviously, he was their bell cow for a number of years. How do you view the Colts? They were 8-9 last year, which is actually kind of impressive, I think, considering how poor the quarterback position was for them. Obviously, now you've got Richardson and Daniel Jones. How do you view the Colts, and how do you view that open competition between those two guys?
Colts spent a lot of money in the secondary, which are Various Ward and Cam Bynum, so I like what they did in the secondary. Daniel Jones is going to be the starting quarterback. I mean, they're basically giving him a $12 million contract that could be worth up to $14 million for 1 year. When Anthony Richardson asked out of the game, what was that, against Houston? Man, that's going to linger, right? I mean, they can say everything they want to publicly. That's going to linger. And if I'm Shane Steichen, who's coaching for my job this year, and I'm Chris Ballard, who's a GM that's certainly on the hot seat, I don't start the year, I don't think, with Anthony Richardson. Who gives you a better chance to win now? You cannot wait any longer. You're going to be fired if you don't make the playoffs. I think Daniel Jones probably gives the Colts a better shot of going to the playoffs than Anthony Richardson. So I think Daniel Jones is going to be the starting quarterback.
Yeah, I would agree. And I kind of think the Colts will sort of hover where they have been, like right around 500, maybe a little lower. I will say I think Steichen is a good coach. I think he's been sort of saddled the last 2 years with a very raw project, and I think it's affected the team. And I don't think Daniel Jones is spectacular, but I do think that's an upgrade from what they had with Richardson.
You need a serviceable quarterback. That roster is good. Jonathan Taylor, and they did suffer some losses on the offensive line, so we'll have to see. Ryan Kelly's gone, Will Fries is gone, but I love the defense. They got a good special teams unit, a good running game. You just need a quarterback that's average. And they have not had that, which is why they've missed the playoffs the last couple of years.
Quick thought on the Titans, 3-14 last year. Are they still lost in the wilderness, in your opinion, or could they be a surprise, maybe at least somewhat of a division contender?
I'll be intrigued about Cam Ward, but they gave Dan Moore $80 million. That's pretty much all you need to know. Dan Moore, who the Pittsburgh Steelers were not upset he was walking out the door. Tennessee gave him an $80 million contract to replace the first rounder they took last year in J.C. Latham. They're moving Latham to right tackle, putting Dan Moore at left tackle. I still think Tennessee's flapping in the breeze a little bit. I think Cam Ward will help, but I don't think they're going to be very good, which is why Jacksonville, even though they're in the midst of a rebuild, to me this is closer to a rebuild than a retooling here. But the division is so awful.
It's so awful.
That it's not going to take a far stretch to think Jacksonville could legitimately compete for this thing in 2025.
Without a doubt. It's going to be a lot of fun. When we come back on the Frangie Show, we're going to switch it to Gator basketball. Chris Harry's going to join us from FloridaGators.com to give us the latest on what is going on with Todd Golden's Final Four bunch. You're listening to the Frangie Show on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
The Frangie Show from the Harrell and Harrell studio. Don't settle for less than you deserve.
The great thing about live sports, you never know what's going to happen.
Oh, how did he pull that off?
Get the most live play-by-play on 1010XL.
Thy ticket, Lady Jennifer of Coolidge.
Well, many thanks, good sir. Hereeth my Discover card.
They accept Discover at Renaissance fairs?
Yeah, they do here. Discover is accepted at the places I love to shop. Get it with the times.
With the times?
You're playing the lute. Yeah, and it sounds pretty good, right?
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I love it. You shouldn't have, but I'm glad you did.
The love that a little box from Beard's Diamonds can hold is something that those big box jewelry stores can't understand. As Town Center's only locally owned jeweler with international connections, Beard's Diamonds knows that our little boxes are full of promises, celebrations, milestones, and magic. Big box jewelers only have big overhead and big markups, but Beard's Diamonds sees the big picture of the little box. That's why you can look to us for a great selection of dazzling diamonds and designer jewelry, and a listen-first approach to helping you turn what's in a little box into a big part of your special someone's life. Come experience the local, loyal, and helpful difference of Beard's Diamonds in Town Center. When it comes to helping you celebrate with beautiful jewelry, Beard's Diamonds thinks outside the big box stores. And that makes a big difference. Beard's Diamonds at the St. John's Town Center.
Lauren Brooks here. At Hodges Mazda, they are proud of their solid reputation in the Jacksonville community. As your hometown Mazda dealer, their high customer service standards and their huge inventory of new and used cars provide their customers a consistently first-rate car buying experience. Their professional non-commissioned sales team puts your best interest first without exception. And all new vehicle purchases include the Hodges Mazda Protection Package. Visit them online at HodgesMazda.com or stop in today to learn more and discover the Hodges Mazda difference.
The Combine, free agency, the draft.
We're professionals. We have a job to do, a season to plan.
Follow the road to the regular season with AA Automotive on Richard Street. Family run since 1954 and 1010XL.
When you're a little kid on the playground, they tell you don't hit back.
Well, the courtroom isn't a playground. And if you've suffered an injury or death in your family, I'm here to tell you it's okay to hit back and fight to make them pay. I'm attorney Brett Hastings, and at Hastings Injury Law, we understand all the pain and emotion that comes with being wrong. And we've dedicated our lives to making things right for people like you. So if you get hit back with Hastings Injury Law. Offices, Jacksonville.
Take your taste buds to One Night Taco Stand for Taco Tuesday. Get $2.99 tacos and $6.99 specialty drinks. The 1010XL restaurant of the day is One Night Taco Stand, Mandarin, Orange Park, and Southside at Bay Meadows.
Jacksonville's summer heat is coming in fast. Is your AC ready to handle it? Or will it quit on you on the hottest day of the year, leaving you sweating and stuck with a huge repair bill? Duck Air Conditioning is here to save the day with a free AC system inspection. Our expert techs will make recommendations to ensure your AC system is running in tip-top shape before the heat arrives. Call now, 904-862-6769. Duck Air Conditioning, duckac.com. Any required repairs are not included in the inspection.
WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
What is 1010XL's Jeff Prosser's favorite movie? The answer next.
Southern Oak Insurance is proud to continue offering coverage statewide. Financial stability makes Southern Oak Insurance a wise choice for your homeowner's insurance needs. Log on to southernoak.com.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
Believe it or not, Jeff Prosser's favorite movie is The Wizard of Oz.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
Joe C. for Preferred Roofing, reminding you your roof is more than just felt and shingles. It's a system that not only keeps your home dry, but also impacts your heating and cooling bills. Preferred Roofing and Construction is a GAF Master Elite roofing contractor lauded for having the ability to educate and inform homeowners on their options. Why GAF and Preferred Roofing? They're veteran-owned and operated with ties to Duval for decades. A family business ready to make sure your family has a good roof over its head. Log on, preferredroofingjacks.com.
Hi, I'm Mac with Baker Glass. If you've got fogged up windows, let me help. We'll replace them with clear, insulated units that brighten up your home. People say we're fast, friendly, and reliable. Just check out our Google reviews. Call me today. Baker Glass. No one treats you better.
Homeowners, listen up. It's time to start fresh in 2025. Prosser here, and Loan Pronto is here to help take control of your finances in 2025 by lowering your house payments and consolidating that nagging debt. Did you know that 9 out of 10 borrowers get a better deal by calling Loan Pronto? Right now, Loan Pronto has some of the most competitive offers for refis, debt consolidation, and purchase loans, starting in the low 5s APR. If your current rate is over 6%, don't settle for paying too much. Even if you're in process with another lender, call Loan Pronto now. Lock in at a lower rate today and close in as little as 2 weeks, often with no appraisal. You can even skip your next 2 house payments. It's fast, easy, and hassle-free. Get your personalized Loan Pronto rate quote instantly with no hard credit pull and no upfront fees. Call now, 904-999-1508, or go to loanpronto.com. That's 904-999-1508. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval, NMLS consumeraccess.org.
I'm Max Fink with your 1010XL Southeast Orthopedic Specialist local sports update. Last night, the Magic fell to one of the NBA's hottest teams currently, the LA Clippers, 96-87 in a tough-fought battle. Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner once again headlined the scoring for the Magic with 26 and 21 points, but the bench production lacked big time, scoring 10 points combined. Coach Mosley said the intensity of this season, late season games being ramped up.
That was the playoff game. The physicality, the small, tiny, little things matter in these games. So every rebound matters, every foul matters, every little small possessions in a game like this, which was a playoff type game, matters. And we gave up 11 offensive rebounds, and those are the possessions that you can't get back. And those led to big threes, and those are momentum shifts.
It's 84 degrees at 5 o'clock. Time and Temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
It's a Nimnick Tuesday on The Frangie Show. Nimnick, your friends in the car business since 1941.
All right, welcome back to The Frangie Show. Frank is on vacation. We'll be back next week, but Hacker is here. JJ LaSelva is here. I am Hays Carlyon, and before we get to Chris Harry, real quick, there is some news in college basketball. Buzz Williams leaving Texas A&M to go be the new Maryland coach. So kind of an interesting development there, and we'll see what A&M does. But let's bring in Chris Harry. Does such an outstanding job covering the Gators for FloridaGators.com. Travels, goes to every game, and is certainly kind enough to give us some time. And Chris, what a unbelievable environment in San Francisco. Just describe for us what it was like seeing that, I mean, historical comeback, maybe the greatest comeback they've ever had in school history.
Well, I would say certainly that. I mean, if you look at great comebacks in the tournament, especially when you're talking about an Elite Eight, a regional championship game, it's one to remember, regardless. If you're some fan like out in, Montana somewhere watching that game, you were probably riveted by it. You didn't really need a rooting interest. It was just tremendous theater. And, inside 3 minutes to go, there's very little reason, if you're a diehard Gator fan, to be encouraged about anything that's happened at that point. Texas Tech's gotten whatever they wanted in the offensive half court. They're backing guys down. They're making layups. Florida hadn't shot the ball particularly well. They made some free throws and what have you to just kind of stick around. But something had to happen. Something positive had to happen. And after Walter Clayton, it was a kind of flukish kind of three from the corner, bounced straight up in the air and then kind of rattled in. That one took the lead from 10-7, and then it did get kind of weird from there.
Chris, 31 years ago, the Gator basketball team, the motto was "Find a Way" with Dimitri Hill and Andrew DeClerc and the fellas back in the day. And in the last week and a half, Florida has trailed in the under 4 media timeout to both the defending back-to-back national champions in UConn and a top 10 team in Texas Tech. And yet they have found a way in those last 4 minutes to win both games. And people will call it luck. People will call it, well, they're not playing their best. And whether that's true or not, none of that matters because they're here. They're in the Final Four. They're 2 wins away from a national championship. And I would have to think coming back in both of those games has got to give this team a lot of confidence moving forward.
It does, but you can't dismiss the fact that in those predicaments by not playing their best basketball to date. And I mean, you could say that's a good thing in a lot of ways because if they get back to playing the way they were, say, in the SEC tournament a few weeks ago, which would be good news when you're playing an SEC team in the national semifinal, then Florida should be feeling pretty good about themselves. But turnovers, too many, offensive rebounds, surrendering offensive rebounds way too often, second chance points. I think Texas Tech hit 6 of their first 7 threes, so there were some open ones there. I'm not sure that's as concerning as the first 2 items I mentioned, but yes, to your point, they're here, and to get here, they hit their last 4 field goals of that game, all 3-pointers, and their last 6 free throws of the game, all in the last 22 seconds. Those 2 each by the 3 fantastic seniors, Walter, Will Richard, and Elijah Martin. So 6 Final Four in program history, and it's been a while that Gator fans have been this excited this late into March, obviously.
Without a doubt. Is Todd Golden's ability as an in-game coach, is it underrated? I mean, because even the broadcasters, Stan Van Gundy was surprised at Houck hits a 3, Golden calls a timeout, they come out and they foul. And at the time, Van Gundy, I don't know if you ever went back and watched the TV.
I did.
Okay, yeah. And so Van Gundy's like, oh, boy, that's a bad foul on Houck. And then, of course, Williams misses the front end, and then he's like, great foul by Houck. It was funny, but getting back to Golden, do people appreciate what kind of a strategy that he is able to employ?
Well, I mean, I think basketball coaches that deal in analytics think on different levels. It's chess and checkers, I would say. I mean, I wrote my story the other night, filed it, and was out having a beer, and I got a text from one of the coaches who was reading it, and I made a reference in the story, excuse me, about how they went to foul. I'm trying to think who it was. I don't think it was William. It was Toppin.
Yeah.
A 70% free throw shooter. I referenced in there. And they go, no, he's 59% on the front end. I'm like, damn. They're
wow.
You know, so there's those numbers are out there, and you know we don't have access to them, but they're watching them. Okay, so sure enough, the guy misses the front end, and they missed 2 front ends, and not only did they miss those front ends, it cost them dearly because Thomas Houck made two 3-pointers after each of those missed front ends, and then Walter Clayton closed out the game. So to your original question, is Todd Golden underrated as a coach? Well, I've watched him. He's 33-4. He's not underrated to me. I'm sure he's not underrated to Scott Strickland, who hired him. And I don't think he's underrated to any of the coaches that he's had to go up against along the way. They've beaten, I believe the number is 8 top 10 teams. I think it's 7 top 10 teams this season, and I think 10 top 10 teams in the month of March, if I'm not mistaken. So some kind of ridiculous numbers like that, and it's numbers that have never been accomplished in Florida basketball history here. I may be off 1 or 2, but you get my point.
Chris Harry, FloridaGators.com, with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. All right, Chris, it is a rematch, Florida and Auburn, of the Gator win on February the 8th. I've already heard from my Auburn buddies talking about, well, revenge is coming. If I'm Florida, I look at it like this. Look, you beat Auburn on their home gymnasium floor, and yet it didn't even seem to matter because Auburn never fell beneath you in the rankings. Auburn was always considered better than you despite that win. I'd be a little fired up if I'm Florida to get another chance to beat these guys.
That's one way to look at it. And also, I mean, they also didn't have Elijah Martin in the game.
Mm-hmm. Or Handlockton, for that matter.
Right. Well, that's right. He was a game day scratch, and Handlockton hadn't been back. But having said that, I don't think Auburn played great that day. I think they were a little lost in the moment a little bit. I'm not taking anything from Florida. I mean, that day Walter Clayton was fantastic. Thomas Houck was fantastic. Denzel Aberdeen was really, really good in that game. But, I mean, that game is independent of the one they're about to play. Auburn's playing very, very well. They lost 3 of their last 4 heading into the NCAA tournament. I think they've righted that ship. I don't know. If I'm Auburn, I'm more – if I'm an Auburn fan, I'm more thinking, okay, where's Janai Broome physically? Because he didn't look great walking off the court, and he obviously wasn't 100% when he did come back, even though he made a couple of big plays. But both these teams know each other very, very well. Todd Golden and Bruce Pearl and Bruce Pearl's son Steve, the associate head coach at Auburn, are very, very close. They've even texted each other some since this game has this bracket has fallen the way it has. But going back to my original point, the whatever happened in the jungle back on February 11th, I don't think it has a whole lot to do with this. There'll be some stuff that both teams take away from it to either improve on or to play off of. But at a neutral site with so much at stake, it's anybody's game. What is it, a 2.5-point spread or something like that? All 4 of these teams that are in the Final Four are capable of winning the national championship. All 4 of them, I think, are capable of winning it handily, actually. So it's going to be quite a scene in San Antonio this weekend.
Without a doubt, and we've talked about Elijah Martin and Micah Handlockton not playing in that Auburn game, but one guy who did was Urban Klavzar, who was effective, hit 3 different 3-pointers, had 9 points,
Absolutely.
Made every shot.
Mm-hmm.
I think he had 2 assists as well, and obviously limited minutes, but he's really been struggling, didn't play at all against Texas Tech. That'll be really interesting to see if you're Todd Golden. Do you go to a player who hasn't done much for you in this tournament, but is somebody that against this team was able to step in and hit some huge, I mean, those threes that he hit in the early second half of the Auburn game, I thought really helped propel Florida to that win.
Well, yeah, because he was probably they probably paid limited attention to him, Hays, during their scouting report, what have you. So because he hadn't done a whole lot to date. I think Urban's struggles kind of were started in the SEC tournament with the physicality. I mean, he wasn't great, I don't think, against Alabama, and Tennessee kind of worked him pretty good. And I think that's kind of carried over, maybe a little bit of a confidence kind of thing. I'm not sure. I mean, he may have hit 1 3 in the last 4 games. I don't know how much of a factor he's going to be, because remember, they got Elijah Martin back.
Right.
And whatever minutes you be sticking Urban and you're taking minutes away from one of those other three other guys. We'll see. I mean, they're not scratching him by any means, but you're probably going to go with your horses in a situation like this. It'll all play out.
Final moments, Chris Harry, FloridaGators.com. Chris, there's a disconnect seemingly somewhere because Vegas has Florida as a 2.5-point favorite, I believe. Yeah, you talk to a lot of guys and you watch these shows nationally and you listen to these programs, and Florida is like the fourth team that's going to San Antonio. And I don't know if that's because you look at what Houston did to Tennessee, you look at what Duke did to Alabama, you look at the way Auburn's playing, and then Florida, like we talked about, survives UConn, survives Texas Tech. But to me, it's odd that Vegas has the Gators the favorite, where if you ask a majority of people about this game outside of our listening area, I think a majority of people are probably going to take Auburn to win it.
Yeah, and I think that's probably recency biased with the talking heads, if you will. Vegas is going to do what Vegas does. And they're usually pretty good at doing what they do. That's why they build these gigantic palaces in the middle of the desert. But, going into the tournament, remember, just about everybody on television was saying Florida's my pick. Florida's my pick. Didn't ESPN go 5 for 5 picking Florida as their, and the struggles the last couple of weeks in those two particular games that you mentioned, the UConn game. And, of course, I'm sure some people think that was lightning in a bottle, the way they came back against Texas Tech. And again, Florida is not playing as well as they were coming out of the SEC tournament going into the NCAA tournament. So I don't have a particular problem with that, with what people are saying. But I think the Gators need to get back to playing better than they have been. They have to be better with the ball. They got to be more on point with the locking on a 3-point shooter. They got to rebound the way they're able to rebound. They've been one of the best rebounding teams in the country this season. They have that size. I think Alex Condon is going to be healthy. So they got to play to their bona fides when it comes to rebounding and defending better.
What do you think Walter Clayton Jr.'s legacy will be when this ride is over for Florida?
I think we had this conversation maybe last week. Is he the best player in Florida history? I mean, people think of those back-to-back national champions, and I think there's 4 guys that you think of almost equally, right? I think if you think of this team, you think of Walt right now. And if Walt has any kind of moments in the Final Four like he's had in the run-up to the Final Four, I think that your question will be answered, I think.
All right, Chris, Florida and Auburn, looking forward to it. But the way Duke's playing, and I'll give all due respect to Houston as well, I mean, my goodness, does it really matter? I mean, is anybody going to beat Duke?
Of course it matters. I mean, you still got to play. I mean, Duke, Duke's run, Duke had a pretty fortuitous bracket, to get to where they are. They didn't play a whole lot of battle. They weren't very battle tested during the regular season. I'm not dismissing them in any stretch. I'm not doing that. They have great players. They are the best team probably in the country right now. But I mean, it's a one game season, man. And I would really, really like to see Walter Clayton on the same floor with Cooper Flagg. That would be something that would be what a way to go out for the season. I've already seen Walter Clayton and Janai Broom on the court a couple times or 3 times the last 2 seasons. I'm about to see him again. But if Florida can make it to the national championship, obviously it's a one-game season. Anything can happen.
Absolutely. Give us the itinerary. What's the plan for getting out to San Antonio, and what will the team be doing in terms of grounding and things like that and practicing?
I don't know. There's nothing as picturesque grounding in San Antonio, and unless they ground, maybe they'll let us ground at the Alamo under Davy Crockett or something like that. But leave tomorrow. Team will come out. There's a second support staff plane that comes out Friday, but obviously media starts Thursday. There's more media Friday, so. I do know. I talked to Victor Lopez today. He's the strength guy, who's the grounding coach or whatever, and he is scouting some stuff. So I think there'll be some of that out there. It'll
awesome.
be fun.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, Chris, once again, we have really enjoyed your coverage all season. We'll look forward to reading all your great coverage from San Antonio, and hopefully you'll be writing about 2 big wins and a national championship for the Florida Gators. But thank you so much for taking time to speak with us today.
Thanks, guys. Olay from the Riverwalk. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Chris is a good man. Does a terrific job covering that team. And how good is this Final Four going to be? I mean, you got clearly the 4 best teams in America, teams that people have been looking forward to really for the last couple of months, getting together in one arena on 2 nights with 3 games. It is going to be nothing short of sensational.
Without a doubt, I can't wait. And, and hopefully Florida is a week from today celebrating a 3rd national title in program history. So, but lots of work to do in Auburn in that Duke-Houston winter. It will be absolutely a hoops extravaganza. When we come back, we're going to keep it going. We're going to move it back to the NFL. Ryan O'Halloran, our good buddy, is going to join us. He's the columnist at the Buffalo News. He's been down south covering the NFL owners' meetings for the last couple of days. We're going to get his thoughts on the rule changes, what is changing, what has been tabled for now, and what didn't pass, overtime rules, expanded replay, push, touch back to the 35 on kickoffs, and playoff seeding. It was a pretty wild couple of days, and O'Halloran will break all of that down for us. You were listening to The Frangie Show on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
It's the ride home with The Frangie Show. From the Harold and Harold studio, don't settle for less than you deserve.
Go full throttle for a photo finish. Look at this! Whoa! Sunday at Darlington.
Checkered flag is out.
Powered by the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Local Union 234 and 1010XL.
Hi, folks. I'm Frank Frangie. If you have a sweet tooth like me, the sweetest desserts in town come from Spoonful Bakery. Spoonful is an online bakery. They deliver boxes of assorted desserts right to your home or office. They're so good, and they make for great gifts for friends or clients. And if you want custom orders, wedding cakes or birthday cakes, or catered desserts for an event, they are the best. Log on to spoonful-bakery.com or call them at 904-515-4984. That's Spoonful Bakery for the sweetest desserts in town.
This is Hays Carlyon from my friend Holt at Harold & Harold. There doesn't seem to be enough time in the day to get everything done. Then you get injured in an accident and you don't know what you're going to do. Let Harold & Harold make it easy for you. Easy on becoming a client. You can just text or email if you want. Easy on finding a doctor and getting through the process. Hopefully you won't need them, but if you're ever injured, call Harold & Harold and make it easy on yourself. Call them at 904-251-1111. That's 251-1111.
Frank Frangie here for Stanley Pools. If you're dreaming of putting in a pool this year, choosing the right company is the most important decision you'll make. I've trusted Stanley Pools to build my pool, renovate my pool, and maintain my pool. Stanley Pools has been the best in the business since 1988, and they're still family-owned. Call them today at 904-269-7277 or find them online at stanleypoolsfl.com. That's Stanley Pools, a family tradition of fine swimming pools.
1010XL celebrates high scorers.
1010XL and Southeast Orthopedic Specialists celebrate scholar athletes.
In class and on the court.
Brought to you by the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Local Union 234. Wednesdays on The Frangie Show.
When it's time for new tires, you can count on Big Chief Tire for quality and value. Frank Frangie here. Their expert team will help you quickly find the right fit, ensuring a safe, comfortable ride. With quality options, fair prices, and quick installation, you'll be back on the road in no time. Visit WeKeepJacksRollin.com or call 904-932-0950 today to schedule your appointment and roll into 2025 with great confidence. Big Chief Tire keeps Jacks rolling.
My son had a meniscus surgery a couple of years ago. When it's smooth as silk, Dr. Kevin Murphy did it. Was playing tennis in 2 weeks. This is Patrick Malarkey, and I highly recommend
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
All right, gentlemen, we've trained for this. We've battled the elements. But if there's one thing we can't afford, it's letting the heat take us out before the big game.
But, Coach, the AC at my house is busted. I barely got any sleep last night.
Well, Johnson, you should have called Cool Cats Heating and Cooling. They're the real MVPs. Now let's cue the cool music.
Cool Cats Heating and Cooling. The coolest cats in town.
Everyone seems to be in a time crunch these days. Well, don't forget you can always count on the cold case at Daly's. Always convenient, always cold. Whether it's the king of beers, Natty Light, Stella, or Cigar City, or Goose Island or Bud Light Seltzer. Dash into Daly's and grab one to go.
All right, it's Baloo. Let's get real for a minute. Losing weight isn't exactly easy, especially when your life involves being surrounded by good food at every event imaginable. Believe me, I get it. But thanks to Awaken 180, I'm already down 10 pounds, feeling sharper, more energized, and never hungry. This isn't some juice diet or starving yourself nonsense. I'm eating food that tastes great, even when I'm out on the road. Here's the beauty. Awaken 180 gives you the game plan to handle real-life situations. I've been hitting plenty of events lately, temptation everywhere, and I've managed to stay on track effortlessly. That's huge. 10 pounds down, energy way up, hunger totally controlled. So if you're tired of carrying around extra weight, tired of diets that don't work, it's time to check out Awaken 180. Take it from me, Hacker, Dempsey, Hays, basically everyone. It's easy. It works and it's real. Do what we did and choose the solution for weight loss. Online at awaken180weightloss.com.
Jumbo Shrimp Baseball opens today at the newly renovated ViStar Ballpark. Come early for opening day street carnival and don't miss post-game fireworks. Don't miss Thirsty Thursday and fireworks Friday and Saturday. Baseball all week and weekend. Tickets start at just $5. JackShrimp.com for tickets. Jumbo Shrimp Baseball, affordable family fun.
Hi, this is Dave Barker. Multi-unit hair grafting is now available at IHRS and can give you 3 times more hair in one procedure over a traditional hair transplant.
Multi-unit hair grafting gave me more hair in one procedure and within my budget.
You can grow your hair back with this exclusive new procedure. Call for a free evaluation. Call IHRS 904-777-IHRS 777-IHRS 777-4477.
No matter what the reason, sending a floral arrangement from Kuhn Flowers always works. For unique and special gifts, visit their showroom on Beach Boulevard. Dylan Denmark here with 1010XL. Kuhn Flowers is my go-to and should be yours. Online at kuhnflowers.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
It's a Nimnick Tuesday on The Frangie Show. Nimnick, your friends in the car business since 1941.
God, I love this song. But we've got bigger fish to fry. Ryan O'Halloran is on the phone, our good friend, columnist from the Buffalo News. He's been covering the owners' meetings for the last couple days in Palm Beach. And, Hacker, we love Ryan O'Halloran, because you know what's getting ready to happen. He's getting ready to make us laugh, and he's getting ready to inform us of what's going on around the NFL. Ryan, how are you?
Fellas, greetings from Lakewood Ranch, Florida. Made the trip across the state this morning after the owners' meeting broke early, and they wanted to get the hell out of Palm Beach and on their private jets.
Absolutely. So there was a litany of rules, some things that are changing, some things that got tabled. So there's a lot of stuff we want to get to. But let's start with the tush push, which it seems like it's got growing momentum to get outlawed, but it got tabled. Give us sort of the thoughts from being there on where this thing is headed, in your opinion.
Well, it's germane to the Bills, the team I cover, because it's them in Philadelphia who run it with effectiveness and frequency. And Sean McDermott, who's on the competition committee, the Bills coach, he's against the tush push. Philadelphia is obviously for it. The fact that it was tabled, there is some momentum, but I don't think Roger Goodell had the votes, which would have been 24 out of 32. So, by tabling it until the May meeting, that gives Goodell some time to work the room, work the phones, because I think they wanted out of the game, even though it's a competitive advantage, and this is what this league is all about with razor-thin margins. I do think it will be banned sooner rather than later.
Ryan, reportedly, it's a 16-16 split. Teams that are for it and teams that are against it. So you're talking right down the middle. In your conversations, what do people have against it, and why do people support it?
Well, I wouldn't. The fact that it was tabled, there was no vote. So, if it's down the middle, far be it for me to question the national guys. They know everything. But the case for it is that if you're a defense, don't get in the 3rd and 1. then you're at the whim of the offense. And if you have a quarterback and an offensive line that can run it effectively, the case against it, they cite health and safety, although it's too early to have any kind of concrete injury data. So to me, that argument falls flat. But I think the biggest reason why at the league level they wouldn't mind seeing it go away is it's not entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
They want passes and rushes on 4th and 1 and 3rd and 1. And when you line up a guy right behind him and push him in the back, that's not exciting.
I wonder if this is where it's headed, because I'm with you, and Goodell spoke, and his comments were pretty clear that he is against the tush push. And so it seems like what they're going to use here is that 2004 rule change where they took away the rule where you were banned from pulling or pushing players. And so it seems like instead of going after this specific play, the strategy has kind of become, let's go back to 2004 and let's reenact the rule that we took off the books where, players are not going to be able to push or pull a teammate. And then obviously as a cause of that would be the tush push would be illegal. But the problem that I have with it, I don't think it's fair to the Eagles or any team that is planning on using it to pull it in May, because you've already been working on your offseason and your plan for months. So, I mean, what I think would be the most fair thing would be for the league basically to kind of send the message of, okay, it's going to be in for one more year, but this will be the last year that we're going to allow teammates to push and pull each other, and therefore the tush push would be extinct after the 25 season. Is there any chance that maybe that's the direction the league ends up going in?
Well, I hope not, because that's a half measure, and you're sort of, you're splitting a baby and you're pushing a problem down the road. The pushing and the pulling thing, like in a pile where, the pile moves across the first down marker, that's a football play. That's just chaos. The fans go crazy. I don't have a problem with that play because that means the lineman and the running back are staying on their feet. And so I hope that play remains the same. But, having covered Goodell since he became commissioner, hey, let's be clear, I'm not as close to Roger as, say, Rory McIlroy and Gene Fournette by any means. But when Goodell comes out and says, I want this changed, generally it's going to be changed, and it could be in May. And I think May, to your point, Hays, I'll meet you halfway. May is the last date possibly because those teams are not on the field yet. Those veteran teams are barely around a lot, so they haven't started their off-season program more than a couple days a week. So I think the May thing, if they can get it done then you can at least say, hey, it's not teams haven't wasted their time practicing it.
Ryan O'Halloran of the Buffalo News with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Ryan, they are determined to get the kickoff return back into the game. I think maybe the league was surprised so many teams did the touchback last year and gave the opposing team the ball at the 30, where they said, okay, you can do that again. But now the ball is coming out to the 35. And with the way field goal kickers are today, Ryan, I mean, you started at 35. Heck, man, 20, 25 yards, and you're in field goal range. So do you think now we're going to have more teams willing to kick the ball short of the end zone with this new rule?
Yeah, I think so. And, one thing Sean McDermott from the Bills told me on Monday, he was against moving it, is I'm not a fan of playing defense on a 65-yard field. Excellent point. And really, it promotes returns and it promotes scoring. What I asked McDermott is, was there any conversation about moving the kicking line back? So you can really, leave it at the 30 for touchbacks, but move the kicking line back to the 30 to incentivize a good kicker and also some returns. He said that was a very short conversation. I mean, the league at the league level, they want returns. They feel like there's not a greater injury risk as opposed to other plays. I mean, right now, punt returns and punt coverage are the highest injury rate. So it's going to be up to the teams. Okay, if you have a lights out defense, are you okay giving up the extra 5 and playing defense on the 35? Do you have a kicker who can place it properly in that landing zone? So, I mean, this is an entertainment business at the middle, beginning, and end of every day, and this was an entertainment move.
We've got some interesting news, NFL-related. Calais Campbell to the Arizona Cardinals on a one-year deal. That's sort of interesting. Obviously, Calais, a great former Jaguar. Ryan, in terms of the overtime rules or the playoff seeding, kind of take us through the changes or the tabling that was involved with those two discussions?
Well, the overtime thing, it's kept at 10 minutes, and each team is guaranteed a possession. To me, that's going to mean ties, and that's just stupid. I mean, and I thought moving overtime down a couple years ago, because the rationale was you can't play a 15-minute overtime in case that team is playing a Thursday night game. Well, how often is that going to come up? I mean, that was a health and safety thing. They didn't want guys playing more snaps. In terms of the seeding thing, the people I talked to this week, I found no momentum for that because to a coach, to an executive, they still want the division title to count as something. And something that Rich McKay said 2 weeks ago was, a couple of years ago they discussed, hey, in the first round, if you win your division, you get a home game, then you reseed. I don't mind that too much, but as Sean Payton from the Broncos said yesterday, he goes, this is going to come up every 6 years until somebody feels they've been shorted and they want to bring something to the table, and then you'll discuss it all over again. But I'm in the camp that winning your division should count for something, and that's a first round home game, because if you went 13-4 and finished second in your division, that means you didn't do enough. You don't deserve to win. You don't deserve to have a home game, and I'm pretty clear on that one.
Ryan, for years, with the amount of technology in the world of sports and beyond, I've always thought it was interesting that we decided first downs in the National Football League, a billion-dollar enterprise, by three grown men running 10-yard chains off or the sideline onto the field, stretching them out and figuring out whether the team got a first down or not. Apparently, the days of that are numbered at this point.
I didn't have a problem with the chain gang. I had a problem with the spotting of the football. So that's where the problem came in, specifically in that AFC title game, is the technology should be at this point where you can bring out the chains, the football's been spotted by a chip, by infrared technology, by a telescope, and you can get an accurate spot, because that was the controversy in the Chiefs-Bills game where you had guys coming, the side judges, one had it as a first down, the other one didn't. They took it to the guy who didn't. So I think this is a good thing. Is it overdue? I don't know. But what the NFL didn't want to do is they didn't want to have to make this decision and then find out that it wasn't working or they didn't think it out enough. So, I mean, obviously they gave a lot of thought to this for several years, and it'll be interesting to see how it works.
Ryan O'Halloran, our good buddy, columnist from the Buffalo News, kind enough to join us. You were able to sit in with Liam Cohen during his availability. What's sort of your take on what the Jaguars, what they've done this offseason, and give us a thought at 5 at who might be there, in your opinion, for the Jaguars?
Well, one thing me and you, Hays, talked about before free agency when they were cutting everybody is they were going to add a lot of guys. They weren't going to add a $100 million player. I mean, this team wasn't 2 players away. They were like 10 players away. So, they filled in the gaps. I disagreed with cutting Ingram and trading Kirk. I thought they should have kept one of them for at least this year to help the transition to a young staff and a quarterback coming off injury with Trevor Lawrence. So, what I asked Liam Cohen was, about, Josh Allen's coming off his MVP season. How do you challenge him as a coach to get to the next level and also keeping things fresh when there's a long relationship? And he brought up Baker Mayfield. He said, hey, me and Baker yell at each other. But it was constructive, it was collaborative. And so I think Cohen's experience with the Rams, with the Bucs last year will be beneficial. He's got a lot on his plate as a first-year coach. But as Sean McVay from the Rams said today during his availability was, he had so much fun watching that Tampa Bay offense last year. He goes, we were preparing for more. I was looking at Liam's offensive tape specifically for that run game, which basically went from worst to third. So I think Jaguar fans should be excited. There's always a little bit of a concern when you have a first-year coach, first-year GM, but I think that's where Tony Baselli will tie things together. And I think you should be optimistic just because of who isn't in the building as much as who is in the building.
The AFC South, Ryan's been an interesting offseason. The Jaguars have been the most active, as we talked about. And then I look at, Indianapolis with a full-blown quarterback controversy now with Daniel Jones. Looks like the Titans are going to draft Cam Ward. And then Houston, I think if you take a poll of who had maybe the worst offseason, I think Houston would be on the small teams on that list. How do you summarize the division this offseason as far as things that have gone on?
Yeah, it's a dreadful division. The Jaguars should be saying, okay, there's an opportunity here if you can start fast and build some momentum. Tennessee is basically, if they draft Cam Ward, which I think they should do, is there's going to be growing pains there. Indianapolis, this feels like they're just chasing their tail. When your options are Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones, you want to say, what's behind door 3? And right now, that's nobody. And then Houston, I mean, they're leaning their hopes on Cam Robinson. Cam Robinson. I mean, C.J. Stroud, I mean, give me a break. So the Texans, I mean, somebody's got to win the division. Somebody's got to get a home playoff game. But, you know, if you're the Jaguars, you should look at the landscape and say, hey, if you don't turn it over, if you don't make stupid penalties, you're going to be in some games. Then maybe you can use Brian Thomas as what he is, which is a complete game breaker.
Ryan, we'll get you out on this one. What do you think ends up happening in those first 4 picks? Who do you think is going to be on the board for the Jaguars at 5?
Well, let's say Ward goes first, and what you didn't hear this week was a lot of chatter about teams wanting to move up, and so you know Travis Hunter I think will go in the top 4 because he's such a rare player. I think Will Campbell or another offensive tackle will go in the top 4, and Will Campbell, the arm length thing, another Sean McVayism today. He says you watch the tape, he plays long, which means he's physical, he's athletic, he should go high. He played left tackle in the SEC. So if you're the Jags sitting there, if Hunter is somehow still on the board, then you take him. Then you figure it out. If he's not, you go after Mason Graham, the Michigan defensive tackle. But it's interesting, Hayes, that Bob McGinn, a writer we both respect immensely with his draft coverage, he quoted scouts in today's story that he thinks Kenneth Grant is better than Mason Graham.
Right.
Well, you could probably trade down. I mean, I think the Bills have Kenneth Grant at their radar on number 30. So they need some more. They need another big body, but if the board doesn't, if they don't like the way the board is, you know, maybe they can trade down a couple spots and pick up another 2nd or 3rd round pick. So, you know, you'd love to have a terrible season and have like a top 2 or 3 pick, but they're not in a bad place right now because there's so much uncertainty. I think after the first pick.
Yeah, without a doubt, Ryan. Can't thank you enough, man. We really appreciate it, and always great catching up with you and getting your insights. So thank you so much, and we'll look forward to talking with you soon.
All right, fellas. Take care now. Thanks.
All right, Ryan O'Halloran. Again, you can give him a follow on X at Ryan O'Halloran. He's the columnist for the Buffalo News, does an outstanding job, and we always enjoy it. One segment to go, Hack. When we come back, we will give you our final thoughts and give you our reaction to Ryan O'Halloran's comments. That is coming up. You're listening to The Frangie Show on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
The Frangie Show from the Harold and Harold studio. Don't settle for less than you deserve.
This is Brent Musburger's Visa in Action update on 1010XL. Brought to you by Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic, and Air Conditioning. When you're stuck, call the Duck. Proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
With just a few weeks remaining in the NBA regular season, the Oklahoma City Thunder have moved past the Boston Celtics as the betting favorite to win the Larry O'Brien Trophy. The Thunder have been on top of the Western Conference for a majority of the season, are plus 175 to capture the title. The Celtics, who are second in the East, are plus 190. They're also the defending world champions. The Cleveland Cavaliers, who have led the East for the whole season, at plus 500. The Lakers are plus 1,500 to win the title. Denver is at plus 1,700, and Golden State at plus 1,800 to win this year's NBA championship. Earn cash back on your gaming transactions with the GBank Signature Visa Card at vsin.com/GBank. I'm Tony Desiri with your Visa in Action update on 1010XL.
Trying to figure pricing at most AC companies is like listening to an auctioneer.
Who wants an AC tune-up? Do I hear $3.99? How about $2.99? No, let's drop it. $79? Do we have a deal? Going once, going twice? Sold!
Not at Duck Duck Air Conditioning. We make it easy. We're offering a free AC inspection. No gimmicks, no fine print, just a completely free checkup from our highly trained techs to make sure your AC is ready for summer. Call 904-862-6769 now to schedule. Duck Duck Air Conditioning, because free is better than bidding. Any required repairs are not included in the inspection.
Looking for an engagement ring in Jacksonville? Here's a pop quiz. Which Jacksonville jeweler cuts out the middleman and guarantees the lowest price on any diamond?
I'm thinking it's...
No, it's Beard's Diamonds. Question 2. Which jeweler in the town center has thousands of designer engagement rings and a multi-million-dollar diamond inventory?
I'm going to say...
No, it's Beard's Diamonds. Question 3. Which jeweler in Jacksonville offers an unbiased diamond education, a lifetime upgrade, and free maintenance for life?
How about
Dude, you should have learned by now it's Beard's Diamonds. Final question. Which jewelry store in Jacksonville hasn't been sold a few times and is currently not owned by a national conglomerate?
Beard's Diamonds?
Ding, ding, ding. Now you're getting it. Beard's Diamonds guarantees a better selection, an unbeatable price, superior warranties with no corporate rule books, no commission salespeople, and no chain store atmosphere. Beard's Diamonds, Jacksonville's jeweler. St. John's Town Center.
Hey, Jacksonville, I'm sure by now you've seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We are an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We are committed to customer service, reliability, and have unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. GFL, green for life.
Jimerson Burr is a full-service, Florida-based commercial law firm that has experience and capabilities to handle any legal issue a business is confronted with. Learn more about what they can do for you at jimersonfirm.com.
What could you do with an extra $75,000 right now, or even a couple $100,000? If you own a home, you can get that money in less than a week with Loan Pronto. Hey, Prosser here. Loan Pronto is the leader in quickly converting your home equity into cold, hard cash, so you can pay off all your credit cards or start that home remodel. Loan Pronto has several easy options to let you access the cash from your home. There's virtually no paperwork, no cumbersome process, no junk fees, often no appraisals. Listen, the average homeowner now has over $300,000 in equity. That's your money. Use it. One client got $150,000 out and paid off all their credit cards, 2 car loans, and a personal loan, cutting their monthly expenses by $1,500. You can get approved in as little as 1 day, so act now with no hard credit pull up front. LoanPronto.com or 904-999-1508. Get the money you need for anything at 904-999-1508 or just go to LoanPronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Neck pain, back pain, or headache? Shinatri Chiropractic has 4 locations: Westside, 103rd, Riverside, Arlington, and the Beaches. Acupuncture, dry needling, physical therapy. Relief starts today. Shinatri Chiropractic, 743-6700.
I open the door and take you inside the locker room to get you closer to the field, the players and coaches you care about.
Get a look at Hays' blog on 1010XL.com.
My blog is brought to you by Roland Reach Plumbing,
where quality and experience count.
Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. You know, I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation, light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Go to CarlsonDentalGroup.com. That's CarlsonDentalGroup.com for all of your dental needs.
If golf is your thing, you'll want to check out the 2025 Hills Pass at Hidden Hills Golf Club. Unlimited golf, including golf car, and preferred tee times for just one low price. Visit us at hiddenhillsgc.com to purchase your Hills Pass today.
If you're heading to the Og or you're already part of the nation's oldest, don't forget to drop into Sunset Grill. For over 30 years, serving up great chowder, seafood, wings, and cold beer. Sunset Grill, somewhere on A1A, St. Augustine Beach.
The magical basketball ride continues for Gators fans this weekend, and now you can remember all 34 Gators wins with a full-size Season to Remember basketball for only $149.95, featuring scores of every game along with embossed logos, championship history, and more on panels of the ball. Order now. Get one of only 5,000 licensed balls. Call 800-345-2868, 800-345-2868, or visit nikcosports.com.
This is Hays Carlyon for Kingfish Pest Control. Mosquito season is upon us, but don't let them take over. The secret to a bite-free yard is starting today with Kingfish Pest Control. Their 3-step mosquito defense process stops them before they can spread. Eliminate breeding areas, build a protective barrier around your yard, and monthly treatments to keep them away all season long. The earlier you start, the fewer mosquitoes you'll have to fight. Don't let those suckers ruin your outdoor fun. Call Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
1010XL is presented by Farrah & Farrah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, the Cool Down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, keeping Jack's cool since 1987.
We have had another fantastic time on the Frangie Show today. We got to meet Reese Tucker, our outstanding scholar athlete of the week. Reese is from Wolfson, outstanding soccer player going to FSU, wants to be a sports agent. That was very cool getting to meet her. Chris Harry was kind enough to join us from FloridaGators.com to break down the Final Four run for Florida and peek ahead to their game in San Antonio against Auburn coming up Saturday night. And Ryan O'Halloran, columnist from the Buffalo News, joined us to kind of give us a sense of the rule changes, things that happened, things that didn't, from his 2 days covering the NFL owners' meetings in Palm Beach. So a lot of good stuff today, Hacker. What stood out to you?
Yeah, I think the tush-push, the fact that reportedly about half the league is against it, but like Ryan said, there was no official vote that was tabulated. It seems like sooner rather than later that's going to go away. I kind of like your idea. You kind of give teams a little bit of a warning. You don't just spring it on them in May or June and say, all right, you're not doing this. You say the 2025 season will be the last year of it, so start planning accordingly. They want kickoff returns back in the game. Now a touchback brings the ball out to the 35-yard line, which is pretty wild. So I think you're going to see a lot more kickoff returns in the game. And the fact that both teams get the ball in overtime, regardless if the first team scores a touchdown, I like, but they're only doing 10-minute quarters still, or a 10-minute overtime period as opposed to 15, which I think Ryan's right. I think that could lead to quite a few ties, which I don't think anybody's going to be real fond of.
Yeah, without a doubt. Calais Campbell going to Arizona on a one-year deal. Did that surprise you?
It surprised me, yes, but this kind of feels like it'll be the end, right? I'm not breaking any news there. He's 38 years old. He's going back to where it started. What was he there? 8 years before he left to come to Jacksonville. So he's kind of going back to his roots, going back to the team that drafted him. And I would expect 2025 to be the final year for Calais Campbell. And hopefully it's a good one. Again, Jacksonville, 3 great years here for Calais Campbell. Wish he could have come back and finished it here. But he's going back to where it all started for him with the Arizona Cardinals.
You're an Iron Man. I know we're going to have Baloo in here in a couple minutes, and he'll tell us what's coming up at the top of the hour on into the night. But give us a peek ahead to what you have coming up on Hacker After Dark.
No, I appreciate it. A lot of Florida Gator basketball talk tonight. Will you get one of the most popular Gator players back in 2011, 12, 13? He was on the Final Four team in 2014. He's playing pro ball over in Europe, in France. He's been over there for over a decade. I actually caught up with Will after his practice with his French team today. Again, they're like 5 or 6 hours ahead of us. So talked to Will earlier this afternoon. We'll air that conversation tonight for you on Hacker After Dark. Really interesting comments from Will about Todd Golden, about what he's done with the alma mater, about his time playing for Billy Donovan in Gainesville, and also Sean Kelly, the radio play-by-play voice of the Florida Gators, will join us tonight as well. So a lot of Gator basketball talk tonight on Hacker After Dark.
That'll be a lot of fun. Boy, they're getting out there early. I'm surprised they're flying to San Antonio on Wednesday.
Yeah, I am too. I wonder if every team's doing that.
It must just be. Chris kind of made it sound like there's media that usually you only have to do media the day before the game. But with it being Final Four, maybe there's more involved in it.
Yeah, I would think Thursday would have been the day. I am surprised it's Wednesday. But get out there, get a lay of the land. And when you're playing in a big atmosphere like that, we always talk about how sometimes it's hard to shoot in a big venue like that when you're not in a basketball arena per se. So get out there, get acclimated to it. I think if all 4 teams are out there, probably not that big a deal.
It was good to hear Chris say that he thinks Condon's healthy.
Yeah.
That was something that I was curious about, and Chris sort of answered it before we got to it, but he said that he believes Condon is healthy, and obviously having a several extra days coming out of San Francisco should help him as well. But I think he's a huge key if Florida is going to win these final 2 games. I mean, Hauk's great, but boy, that team when Condon is on fire, along with Hauk and Clayton and Martin and Will Richard, I mean, if they can get Condon going in San Antonio, they can absolutely cut down the nets.
Well, Condon and Hauk were huge in the first game against Auburn. I mean, Thomas Hauk, the best Gator play of the year that was not a three-pointer by Walter Clayton might have been Thomas Hauk in that offensive rebound, batting it to Denzel Aberdeen for the 3 against Auburn. That was a sensational play in that game in the jungle back in early February.
He was behind the 3-point line when that shot went up.
It was a crazy play.
Yeah.
Crazy play. And that's what you're going to have to do to beat Auburn, because I agree. I don't think Auburn played particularly well that day. They're going to be highly motivated. Florida is going to have to play better on Saturday than they did when they beat Auburn in February.
Absolutely. Great stuff. Thank you again.
Hays, appreciate it, man. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Sounds great. Let's do this now.
Now, the 2-minute drill. Serviced by Cool Cats Heating and Cooling. Locally owned and operated. We're your neighbors. CoolCatsJacks.com.
The coolest cats in town.
All right, Rick Ballou joining us. What's your early thought on the Final Four? You think Duke just whips Houston and whips the SEC champ and,
No.
and wins it? Or what do you,
I mean,
what do you
after
think?
what I saw the last 2 weeks, the last 2 games with Florida, I don't think they're ever out.
Yeah.
They just absolutely tooled with Texas Tech. That looked like sandlot basketball.
It was incredible.
I mean, they just did whatever they wanted. They took advantage of missed free throws. They got their own offensive rebounds when they needed it. Buried the three. It was, from my point of view, it was so freaking nauseating. It was disgusting, because I was openly rooting for Florida to lose. But, I mean, if you're a Gator fan, you got to be just beside yourself right now. I don't think there's a Gator fan around who thought they were going to win that game.
No, I didn't.
They did just absolutely everything correct. So I can't count out Florida. I was just looking at it. They say Duke will be a 4.5-point favorite if they meet for the national championship a week from Monday. But right now, I picked Duke over Florida.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, if I had an opportunity to change my pick, I got to go with the Gators after what I've seen them do.
Yeah, Gators getting 4.5 is pretty attractive.
Yeah.
Yeah, if that's the matchup that we end up with.
Right.
What's coming up?
Not that.
Not that. Okay.
I don't want to be in a bad mood tonight. I mean, all these happy Gators are driving me crazy. So we're going to stay away from that. We're going to give
Luke Laux coming in. Luke Laux coming in. You guys will be in the Final Four in a few years.
There's no doubt. And we got Florida State JU baseball tonight. So, hanging our hat on that. And I don't do I do no negativity during the offseason. You won't hear me mention Mike Norvell or the Florida State Seminoles. I will talk maybe every once in a while about Link Jarrett, but I'm really interested in the NFL owners. It just seems to me like they don't get it. They got so much money, and I think the money and the greed takes center stage over common sense. Why can't some of the smartest and richest people in the world use common sense like you and I would if we walked into a bar and sat down with 5 or 6 Jaguar fans? We could map out exactly how to make this game better. The owners cannot.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you wonder if it's because do they have the same love of the game that the fans have?
Hell no.
I don't think so
Shah
either.
Khan doesn't love football. Shah Khan didn't know football until we bought the team.
Right.
He doesn't live here. He wants his games in London. He don't love it like these hardworking Jaguar fans do. What he loves is money. And all the owners, they love the money. And it's too bad that we're not using common sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll use some tonight.
All coming up. All right, that's Rick Ballou. That'll be a lot of fun. We'll be listening. Thank you so much. We always appreciate it. For Hacker, for JJ LaSelva, for the vacationing Frank Frangie, I am Hays Carlyon. Stay tuned because Into the Night with Rick Ballou is up next. You're listening to 1010XL 92.5 FM.
The Frangie Show from the Harold and Harold studio. Don't settle for less than you deserve.
Giving the workday something to talk about.
Every time we talk, I'm reinvigorated by my love of the game.
Joe C., Matt Hays, and Leon Searcy.
Who do you want to talk about first?
There, XL Prime Time. Weekdays 2 to 4 on 1010XL.
I'm Holt Harrell with Harold and Harold. Choosing a law firm after an accident is an important decision. So how do you decide? With so many messages on air, I know it can all sound the same. At Harold and Harold, we believe what sets us apart is our commitment to you. When you've been injured in an accident, you need help from someone you know, someone you can trust. Harold and Harold, a name you know, a name you trust. Don't settle for less than you deserve. Offices, Jacksonville.
Frank Frangie here for South State Bank. At South State, they believe strong relationships build strong businesses. That's why they take the time to understand your goals, challenges, and vision so they can provide solutions tailored to your needs, like they've done for me for years. South State has always been there for our business and our charity. With a team you can trust and a commitment